welcome to CEO Chat. Is this CEO Chat?
This is CEO Chat, 11:30 Fridays. I'm Joe Asumendi.
And I'm Al Cini.
Good to see you, Al.
Great seeing you.
Always a pleasure.
And Joe used his magical powers of climate control to prevent the snow today. So we have Bill Morrow.
Finally. Finally.
We have, finally,
Exactly.
after rescheduling due to weather, we've got Bill Morrow in the program, and a wonderful guest from Empirical Consulting Solutions. And,
Got it.
Let's break that down by name. Empirical means analytics.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And you mentioned before the program that you solve people problems, you solve operations problems, and you also address sales traction problems.
Correct. Yeah, we're people, process, and technology. That's what drives who we are, and I think that's what drives all companies. It's important that you have the ability to pull all that together and do that right all the time, and that's what makes great companies.
All right, great. And speaking of great companies, it's not necessarily a company that's struggling. This could be a company that's in pretty good shape that just wants to get to that next level.
Correct. We have a lot of customers that have contacted us and said, hey, we know what we're good at, but we're not good at this over here. Could you help us get to the next level, and can you do it in a period of time that meets our timeline? And yeah, that's exactly what we do.
Do you have a typical client, do you think, or is it all across the board?
Boy, it's across the board. We see companies as small as $500,000 in revenue and as large as $7 billion, from energy companies to professional services. The only thing they have in common is their willingness to get better. And that really is what we see drives fantastic companies. Is they're willing to say, hey, we know we're really good at this, but there's some things here we could do better.
Yeah, that willingness to get better. Now, in some cases, it's obvious. So the people watching the program, it could be that year after year, even though the market is increasing, let's say, by double each year, your share of it isn't.
Yeah.
So they might call you because they have that problem.
Yeah.
Or you mentioned you also help with supply chain problems, operational problems like that.
Yeah, we've done a little bit of everything. Supply chain problem here recently, where we're in a $150 million company, and one of my partners is really a supply chain guru. And although I know he doesn't want to be labeled that, but he's become the supply chain guru. And
Mention your partners, by the way. You're in it with two other guys.
Jason Fisher is our supply chain guru, and Chris Lee, both fantastic sales and operations leaders and business leaders, which make them really valuable when they get plugged in. And he was able to go in and help a consumer product goods company find another $8 million in profitability because they were just not able to get their whole supply chain distribution channels working, and it did a great job for them.
Is your expertise sales and marketing?
Mine is sales and marketing, mostly on the sales end. One of your former guests, Laurel Cavalusa, is actually our marketing lead and does a lot of marketing for us, and I do the sales end, and together I think we're pretty good duo. We get things done for people.
Well, you said it's also working for you. It's not just the three of you. You've got a team of maybe 20 or 30 people that you can rely
There's
on?
about 20 of us that we have. We plug and play depending on when what a customer needs and when they need it. We have different expertise and different industry expertise that sometimes come into play with who we plug in and who we use.
Okay, great. Manufacturing, service, doesn't make any
Yeah,
difference.
manufacturing, professional services, whatever it is, we plug different people in because we know they can do whatever needs to get done.
Okay,
And you do
great.
this all throughout the country, correct?
All throughout the country. We are currently working with companies in Belgium, the UK, and then the West Coast, the East Coast. We would love if they would all just stay here in Philadelphia, but they seem to be calling us
seem
from
to wanna
all
go all
over.
over the
So
place.
we have to go where they
That
want
is
us to
so
go.
annoying, and I
So
understand what you're
annoying.
saying, but that's okay because you're nimble and agile enough to be able to get out there where the problems are. And
We
that's,
are.
and these days, an awful lot of that work could be done remotely too. So,
Correct. Yeah, we're big fans of Zoom, and they keep us going, and I think we're big customers because we're on it all the time.
good,
Yeah.
good.
That's good.
Okay, so talk a little bit about what an engagement is like. I'm a client out there, potential client out there, and I've got this problem. Things are not changing as quickly in my organization as I feel I'd like them to. And I feel as though maybe a consultant at a high level in the organization could start to trigger some of the changes we need to make.
Sure. What we typically do when we come into an organization is we start with our fresh eyes assessment. And our assessment allows us to find the root cause of the issues that they're having. Because oftentimes customers will say to us, we have an issue over here that is specific to sales or specific to marketing. And what we find is once we get in, that it's actually not a sales or marketing issue. The issue is somewhere else. And being as large as we are and as much experience as we have, we're able to pivot, change directions, and go fix that root cause, show them where the problem is. And that assessment, that tool allows us to do that. And we can do that in just 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Wow, that's
really?
great.
Yeah,
So
quickly.
maybe a 1-month assessment to get to the root cause of the problems that I'm having.
Correct.
Followed by a plan that you put together that will get me to the desired future state that we agree on.
Right.
And you get pretty good results with this, I guess.
We do. We see companies grow rapidly and quickly. You know how important it is when you can get down to, we understand what that issue is, whether it is, and I know this is something you guys know a lot about, it's the climate and the culture in our company, which a lot of it is. We talk to a lot of companies that it comes down to something as simple as that. They don't see the climate and culture issues that they're having. And then these 3 or 4 other things, we'll scope and sequence it back. They sometimes can take it and run with it and make it happen. Otherwise, we come alongside and help them out.
Well, see, that's actually, you just answered a question I had. If an awful lot of people out there feel like they can do this themselves, they don't need outside help.
Sure.
The truth is, I can't always see, sometimes when I'm inside the box,
Yeah.
I can't see what it's like outside the box.
Correct.
And that's where somebody like you
Get a fresh
can
set
make
of
a big
eyes.
difference.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really key.
Yeah, and that's what we call the product, is fresh eyes assessment,
Okay.
because it's so important when you have a fresh set of eyes. And we do the same thing with our own business. When we're struggling in pieces of our business, we bring in other folks that can take a look, and much not unlike yourselves, where you can say, hey, guys, have you thought about this here, or have you taken a look at this? And sometimes it's such an aha moment, even though you knew it,
Right.
it took somebody else bringing it up and moving you through it and doing it quickly.
Well, third party is so much more objective too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. That's key.
That's the main thing.
Really.
We need to take a break. Believe it or not, this is going really quickly. We'll be right back after these messages with Bill Morrow and more of CEO Chat.
Stick around.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Bill Morrow. Welcome back, folks, to CEO Chat. I'm Joe Asumendi.
And I'm Al Cini.
And this is our guest, Bill Morrow. Bill,
Thanks,
welcome.
guys. Thanks.
Appreciate having you here.
Thanks.
Just great having you on.
Yes.
Especially after all those delays.
Yes.
During the break, we were talking about what an engagement with Empirical Consulting Solutions is like, and to try to make it real for everybody who's out there. So you mentioned before the break that you start with the fresh eyes assessment that you created, but during the break you said it's not the same for everybody.
Yeah.
Talk about how you flex that.
It does. It does vary from customer to customer, and each customer has sometimes a set of theories that they have that they think are where they're struggling. They want us to focus in on, and we'll focus in on those areas. And it varies a little bit from industry to industry. Professional services has different needs in manufacturing, so we'll look at different things in each of those categories. But what's key about all of that is starting with your people and knowing what they're thinking and what they're saying. So we do a lot of key stakeholder meetings and conversations just so we understand everyone from on the floor and the field level people to the CEO and CFO and what they think, and we pull all that together.
So I think to me that's important. Fresh eyes assessment isn't just about talking about the people in the executive suite. You get
Right.
out onto the plant floor or onto the sales floor and you talk
Yeah.
to the people who are struggling with the day-to-day challenges.
Yeah, and they'll tell you, and they love talking to folks like ourselves because we allow them anonymity. They can talk to somebody
Right.
without having it held against them or struggling with who they're working with, and knowing that their message is going to get back. They love speaking to us. We usually end up talking and having to cut people short because they give us so much information.
No, that's
So-
great. And often I'm sure you mentioned your people and process and
People, process, and technology.
technology. So when you go in there on what you think is a technology problem, often you'll identify
Something else.
people and process issues as well.
Yeah, that's usually the crux of where we start and where the problem is. And I'm not telling you guys something you don't know. It
No.
starts with people. If you can't get the people piece right, the climate and the culture right in your company, you're not going anywhere. I don't care how good your process is or how great your technology is. And lately, we've been seeing a lot of companies that think they're going to solve their issues with technology. I'm going to get that latest app. I'm going to get that cool piece of technology, and it's going to really just take over and fix everything I have. And we know that that's just not the
We know
case.
that there's always more to it than that. And that
Correct.
somehow, I mean, there's always a gap between where the product leaves you and where your reality begins, and that gap often has to be closed by experts.
Exactly.
People deal with people. They don't deal with AI.
That's,
Yeah.
they really
We
don't
just
deal
don't
with
do it.
And I want to talk about that some more too, but before we get into that, let's say there's a woman executive out there who runs a $30 or $40 million company, and she knows she needs to bring somebody in from outside. She has enough money to call in the big guys, Accenture.
Sure.
She has a brother-in-law or a sister-in-law who's in the business, and she could call them in. You're kind of in the middle, and what makes you different? Why should they call you?
Yeah, we often come in behind the big guys and sometimes behind the small guys. And what makes us different is we're big enough to accomplish what needs to get done, and we have the expertise. At the real core of what we do and what makes us really unique and different is we have the ability to go in and we want to see things through and implement all the way through. I don't want you to just hand you a strat plan or a plan and say, hey, thanks for having us in. It was
Right.
been great. Thank you for your check. Go fix it. We actually stay in and stay involved, even to the point of becoming fractional executives. I do the sales end, and I'm the sales subject matter expert. And I will actually come in at some companies and become their VP of sales for a period of time to get them to the next level, and then hire my replacement.
Right, okay.
So everything in between, whatever a customer needs, we're there to stand by them and implement.
So it's not just about developing a strategy. Strategies
Correct.
can be beautiful, but
They're
every now and
beautiful,
then
right?
you've got to look at the results.
Yeah.
So you're in there for the long haul, potentially.
Correct.
Working in the trenches, making the changes that need to be made in order to implement the strategy you recommend.
How
that
long-
everybody agrees
How
on.
long does one of your engagements typically last?
Typically, anywhere from 6 months to 9 months is what we're typically involved in. And our goal is always to get in, get the problem fixed, and then move on. And sometimes we move on with other issues or problems with those customers. But for an individual customer, it's usually 6 to 9 months is on average.
Okay.
We really understand that we don't want to spend money that they don't need to spend, and we want to get it fixed and done quickly as possible.
No,
Okay, great.
that's terrific.
Yeah.
And talk about some of the clients that you've served.
We've worked with large energy companies that are well-known brands and entities in the U.S. to fast-growing companies in and around the Philadelphia market. I'm currently working with a Philadelphia 100 award winner, and they'll be in the Inc. 5000 next year. And they continue to grow really rapidly. And actually, who was a guest on your show, and I don't think he would mind, but Mitch Geiger of OPS Security
OPS,
Group
yeah.
was.
Great guy.
I've been able to work with them for the past year, and it's a little bit longer than I normally am engaged, but we're actually in the process right now of backfilling me and moving
He
in a new
mentioned
person.
between segments that you were kind of his fractional chief sales
Correct,
manager.
correct.
That's it.
Yeah.
And he was very complimentary about the
That's
work
good to
you did.
hear.
That's
It's
great.
good to hear.
That's great. Well, to me, it's important to know that I can use as much of you or as little of you as I can afford or that is necessary, and
Correct.
that you don't just have a one-size-fits-all solution that I'm constrained by.
Right.
And you've grown quite a bit over the last. How long has the company been around?
Company's been around for about 5 years now. We're just shy of 5 years, coming up on that 5th anniversary in April.
Oh, great. And you're up to 20 or so, 20 or
20 or
people?
so employees, people that are on board with us, and there's the 3 of us that are partners, and yeah, things are going really well. We are really busy, and now that brings on a new set of problems, but
Yeah.
we must be doing something right because people keep picking up the phone and calling us. So
Well, and that
we
picking
enjoy
up
that.
and that's what we're kind of hoping people will be encouraged to do later on when you tell them how to reach you. But
Right.
where's that growth coming from? What do you see? How's the market changing?
Yeah, the market's changing overall because I think there's more of an acceptance, especially with, we see, especially in the younger generations. I think baby boomers and older Gen Xers, which I fall into that category, we have a tendency not to ask for help. We don't,
Right.
we can do it. We've been there. We know what we're doing. We just need more time to get it done. And so we're less likely to ask for help. But we're seeing a lot more millennial companies coming to us, and they're much quicker to ask for help and look for support to get their companies to the next level. And we're seeing a lot of growth on that end of the marketplace.
Well, they're more open to that whole suggestion.
Correct.
That's interesting. I want to explore that. We need to take a break. We're coming up on a break, but we'll be back with more of Bill Morrow after these messages here on CEO Chat.
Yep, stay on.
Welcome back to CEO Chat.
Yeah.
This guy's name is...
Joe Asumendi.
Yeah.
And that's Al Cini.
And
Al,
that's me,
great.
Al Cini,
Yeah.
and our guest is Bill Morrow of Empirical Consulting Solutions. And during the break, we were having the same kind of spirited conversation we had during the last segment.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about people and we've talked about process, but technology is kind of a minefield,
Yeah.
especially these days. I want to talk about how maybe millennials, but you're saying it's us too,
Yeah.
baby boomers, too dependent on technology, have
Yeah.
too much faith in a technical solution, consistently disappointed when it fails to come through.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, we see that often where we'll get introduced to a company or a CEO and they'll say, hey, don't worry about it. I know we've got problems, but we just figured it out. we're dropping in a new CRM or we're dropping in a new ERP, and
Yeah.
it's going to fix all our problems,
Yeah.
and we're good to go.
That is so. There are so many people out there who think switching from CRM to Salesforce,
Right.
Yeah.
It's gonna change
switching
everything.
from Microsoft Dynamics to Salesforce, or the other way around,
Yeah.
is going to solve their sales problem.
Yeah, all the time.
Does it ever?
Not yet. I haven't seen that happen
You
yet.
haven't seen it happen yet.
I've seen a lot of developers get very rich from switching from one to the other.
One contract to another.
But nobody really
contract.
fixes problems with this. piece
Well,
of
because
technology.
ultimately it's the behavior of the sales reps that makes the difference, and you get involved in that. That is a level at which you operate.
Yeah, absolutely. First, we pick the right technology for the people they have. I have a couple of pieces of technology that I love that are great in a marketing automation and a CRM basis that aren't expensive, but they get implemented and people use them. Because the number one reason pieces of technology fail is people don't use them.
People solve problems. Machines don't solve problems.
Exactly.
The whole point of a CRM is to try to get, let's say, a staff of 30 salespeople to reliably keep a diary of their activities by using that CRM. And the hardest hurdle always is, no matter who the brand of CRM is, no matter what that brand is, getting sales reps to want to
But then,
write down what they do is really the big challenge.
It's always the challenge, and it's always tough to get them to use. And when they don't, it fails, and it fails 100% of the time. I had a CEO that I reported to several years ago who told me Salesforce didn't work, and I said, no, it works.
Salesforce works.
We didn't implement well. Let's implement the right way this time and do it and set up the processes and get it out there where people
So
can
that's
use
a
it.
classic example of you go in thinking it's a technology problem, and you find out it's a people and
problem,
process
It's a
problem.
people and process.
So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, we talk to them about how we need to look at those things first. Oftentimes, the first time go around, we'll see CEOs tell us, no, we're going to do it my way. And 6 months later, we get a call back from that person and they say, hey, it didn't go as well as we wanted. Could you come back in? And we will. We start in that scenario, we start by doing a sales process. Let's sit down, figure out what the sales process is, and determine what really needs to get done and put your key stakeholders in the room. So we start with all the salespeople, all the operations people in the room, and we go through what really is your sales process. And it makes all the difference in the world. I've implemented this new CRM. I use Pipedrive. Used it multiple times. I've implemented it 20 times in the last year and have had none fail.
That's important. That's
Yeah.
significant. Now, how painful is this for employees? I mean, I know we're calling you in and you're acting as a consultant. One of my concerns, I guess, as an executive is what kind of blowback am I going to get from my employees when I tell them they have to work with somebody like you? How do you handle that?
Yeah, and that happens, right? You get movies like Office Space where the Bobs come in and they blow everything up. And
I've seen that movie.
Yeah, and it's
I've
pretty
been in
fun.
that movie. I've lived that movie. So I totally get that.
So it's been tough. So what we do is try to be as transparent as possible, explain why we're doing what we're doing, and why and how we're going to do that, and how we're going to get you to the end result. So we're very careful to be transparent and open and show them that we're not here to fire everyone. In fact, we don't want to fire anyone because it makes our jobs more difficult if something happened where somebody gets lost along the way.
Okay, great. So that strikes me as another sweet spot for you. If there's a company out there that's trying to launch a change management initiative,
Right.
and they're not sure how to do that,
Right.
organization like Empirical Consulting Solutions could help with that.
Absolutely. We have 2 or 3 individuals on our team that are absolutely fantastic at change management. We have a couple partners that we use that are great at even much, much higher levels in Fortune 100 type companies that we use and tap when we get into larger organizations. But yeah, we do help with that.
people will buy into something as long as they see a benefit in it.
Correct.
And that's basically what you do.
Yeah.
When you come in.
Exactly.
And sometimes just talking to people changes it. I mean, and that whole idea that you sort of open the doors and let a little fresh air in, which often an organization like yours can do for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So there could be a positive benefit just to that.
Correct. Yeah, that's what we do.
Okay, so technology. Of course, everything you do is about to be replaced by artificial intelligence. Is
Yeah,
that
I'm
right?
going to be out of work here soon. I was going to say I could go drive a truck, but that too is going to be gone.
We were talking about this before the show because everybody, the big buzz is how AI is going to eliminate every job and how that's going to happen within the next 10 years. And then I pick up my iPhone and I ask Siri, I have a change management initiative that I'd like to drive through my 300 employees into my manufacturing business. What could you recommend?
Right.
Siri
Did
is
Siri
not
answer
able to
you?
answer. Yeah,
She
yeah.
didn't.
Siri will bring up a web page, usually about George Clooney, and it'll have nothing at all to do with it. And that's artificial intelligence,
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
I think the point I'm trying to make is that you still need experts.
Right.
It's still business is still about people. It's not about just technology.
Yeah.
And there are limits to how far you can get with that.
Exactly. You know, artificial intelligence is a fantastic tool. Used in the right way,
Right.
can be a game changer. It really can. And we use different pieces of AI in everything we do, and we love that. But it has limits to what it can and can't do. And you do still come down to, Joe mentioned earlier, it comes down to people. People sell to people, people work with people,
Right.
and there's so much nuance there that at this point, at least, machines can't pick up.
Technology, it's all it is a tool.
Correct.
As long as you look at it as a tool,
I mean,
that's
you
fine.
can't look
Right.
at a screwdriver and complain that it's not turning the screw. You've got to
Right.
pick up the screwdriver and
Exactly.
twist the screw,
Right.
or the tool's pointless. We're coming up on the end of the program. If there is somebody out there watching CEO Chat that has a change management issue, or an operational issue, or a people issue, then you can't do better in the field of natural intelligence than Bill Morrow and Empirical Consulting Solutions. So,
Thank you.
Bill, here's your opportunity to talk into the camera. Tell everybody how to reach you.
Yeah, we're available on the web at www.thinkempirical.com, and you can find a little bit about us, see some testimonials and case studies of work we've done. Take a look at us, and if we can be a help, you want to have a conversation, give us a call.
And that conversation's free, so you can
Absolutely.
give Bill a call and talk about how he might be able to help you, and that won't cost you anything.
Not a thing. Thank you, guys.
Great
Bill, it's
having
been
you
a
on the
pleasure.
program. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really a terrific guest with a lot to offer, and it was. I'm glad we were finally
Finally got to
got
make it
here.
happen.
Yeah.
Snow didn't get us. Yeah.
And thank all of you for joining us today on CEO Chat. My name is Al Cini,
I'm Joe Asumendi.
and we'll be back again next week with more CEO Chat. In the meantime, have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Be safe and sound, and see us here next Friday.
Thanks very much.
Bye.